scores. We have 159 nations in the Economic Freedom Index, and Ghana, sadly, comes 103rd. Now, Ghana has done very well in a stable government and in improving democracy. The next challenge is, of course, to improve and gain in economic freedom. Overall, Ghana is 103rd in economic freedom, 55th in size of government, which is very bad for a developing nation because poor nations tend to have smaller governments, and this is the one area where poor nations tend to do well in. For Ghana to come in 55th is a real problem.
It looks like Mr. McMahon is not alone. He's not the only one concerned about the size of government, because senior economist at the University of Ghana, Dr. Ebu Texing, is also charging government to reduce the size before convincing anyone to pay more tax.
The size of government alone is one of the main things that the government has to contend with in trying to convince Ghanaians that they need to pay more taxes. I mean, some of us were disappointed when the president nominated 110 ministers after complaining that the ex-president of the NDC government had about 94 ministers. I mean, we have some ministries that have 3 deputy ministers, and you ask yourself, what is going on in those ministries? We need to cut down. So the first step for this government to convince Ghanaians to pay more taxes is to be seen to be cutting down on its own machinery. You are talking about 1,000 presidential staffers. You wonder what they are doing, where they are. So we need to cut down, and then also ensure that if you look at the last Auditor General's report, the Ministry of Finance overspent almost 1 billion, and questions are not being asked. How come? Where did that money go? So these are the sort of things that we also need the government to try as much as possible to clean up, so that when they have revenue shortfalls and they want to come to us, we know they are very efficient at spending the money they collect and will be willing to pay. So this is what government has to do to convince Ghanaians. I mean, and one way they can do that is to first start by, I mean, if some of the jobs were given for those who had worked very hard for the government to come to power, at least they've been there for almost 18 months. It's time to tell them to just to
leave,
so that we can cut down on our spending.
I still have with me in the studio a member of the Finance Committee in Parliament, besides Kadongo, the Deputy Information Minister, Kojo Ponkrumah. Mr. Adongo, do you agree with that assessment you just said there?
Yes, I mean, largely. But I want to say that the NHIA, they shouldn't be thinking about any increases. They should rather go and collect their 900 million from government, which
that was budgeted for them.
Yeah, which government has taken away from them. They should collect that first and justify whether that is not enough before they can be thinking about any increases whatsoever. But let me tell you, as we speak, as at May, and Kojo doesn't want us to quote May numbers, but they are hiding the June numbers. We don't have them. But as at May, the wage bill and compensation took 51% of tax generated. 51%. That is alarming. That is very, very alarming. It means the government has basically only 49% left to do all the other things, pay interest costs, meet statutory payments, make sure that the government machinery runs, finance expenditures that are critical to the development of our country.
And all this before we have more regions and the development authorities.
And then we have district assemblies that have just been launched, and they are sitting under trees basically and working under trees, and they call them district assemblies. They can't even appoint the district assembly chief executives as we speak, for most of them that have just been outlawed. And you keep asking the basic question: where is the trust of government policy in terms of moving the economy forward? And 110 ministers, you see, it is for a good reason that we don't have 40 people playing in a football match. It is for a good reason that we don't have 40 people playing in a football match. Why? Because you'll be overcrowded and you won't even see the ball to play. This government has 110 ministers. Can you see the level of overcrowding and confusion in this government? They can't even find office spaces for them. Some of them don't really work as ministers because they just don't even have a place.
Can you name one?
I'll mention you.
Everybody knows where I function.
But the reality is that 110 ministers, for goodness sake. A country like Tanzania, how many people are there? They have 34 ministers, and they do a good job. All the noise we make here, Tanzania is on a better trajectory than Ghana. and yet they are not 110 ministers. That is why in the Freedom Index they are indicating that smaller countries tend to cut their coat according to their size. You see, waste in government is not just about the salary that you take. When they move around with policemen. Who pays them? They move around with police escort. Who pay them? Okay, they are all traveling all over the place. To the extent that the president was struggling to have a complete bigger picture of the travels and had to issue that statement. So clearly there are several things that are happening with 110 ministers. In most of state institutions where we didn't have deputy director generals and deputy directors, now they are all over. You go and find at an institution, they say deputy chief executive administration, deputy chief executive finance, deputy chief executive human resource, deputy chief executive operations.
Which organization is this?
Your development authorities have 5 deputies. Development authorities that, as we speak, they are only supposed to manage close to 1.3 billion Ghana cedis. They have how many the deputies? Yeah. And they don't even, as we speak, operate. They are not even getting the funding, and yet we are paying them for no work done.
Final question, Ms. Adongo. The opposition, the minority exists to keep government on its toes. You've aligned all these concerns. What is it that you're prepared to do to force government to reverse course?
Quite clearly, Kojo knows that at committee level we do quite a lot of dialogue. We try to input into government policy our perspective on some of the measures, but they have a mandate and they have some policy choices that they have to make, and so invariably you can only advise them, you know. And in my country, where I come from, we have a proverb. They say, when a donkey is about to floor you, the ears begin to show, you know. But for a man who will be floored by the donkey, even if the ears are up, they will see it. Yeah. And so currently they are not seeing the donkey's ears up. But by 2020, when they fall, Kojo, when you come to my office, I'll tell you I told you so.
Kojo, final thoughts.
Listen, I think that over the years, or at least over the last 1.5 years, the minority is synonymous with scaremongering. They've done a lot of scaremongering. But the results at the end of the day don't support all the scares that they threw out. And I'm hopeful that on Thursday, when the minister comes to Parliament to outline the measures as have been agreed, as have been approved, we will be pleased and we'll realize that a lot of the things that they are talking about is just speculation. They do it very well. It sounds exciting to listen to, but the figures don't back that. I am clear in my mind that the kind of work that the administration is doing is generating the growth that we are looking for, is hopefully bringing about the jobs that we are looking for, and eventually will bring about the prosperity that we are looking for.
Kojo, thank you very much. Mr. Adongo, I'm grateful that you joined us.
Yeah, let Kojo go to Beach and tell them this. He might not come out of that office. 500 workers are losing their jobs. In the banking sector, 5,000 people are lined up to be sacked. And Kojo says that is job creation.
100,000 people are being employed.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm grateful that you came. Isaac Adongo is a member of the Finance Committee. Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah is a member of that committee as well, but also the Deputy Information Minister. Let's stay with the NHI, shall we? It's come up in that conversation.
So while the minority continues to mount pressure on government to back down on its decision to possibly increase taxes and the introduction of new ones, the CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Samuel Ano, is tonight making a strong case for funding increment from the current 2.5 to 3.5%. Now, that's not all. The NHI is also pushing for the introduction of a health tax where consumers of alcohol, tobacco and sugar will be made to pay more. Speaking to Joy News, Dr. Ano also allayed fears of a possible misuse of the funds.
So when you want to go to the market to buy a commodity, you have to take the right price in your pocket. The right price, according to World Health Organization guidelines, is that to purchase primary health care, you need about $86 for each person for the whole year. Now, at the moment, with 110 cedis, it only translates to about $25 for each person for a whole year. So obviously, you cannot purchase health with that low level of money because our membership has grown, the demand is risen, the cost of healthcare has risen. That is why we are in this state. So we are saying that government should come to our aid by increasing the percentage of national health insurance levy that we get from the 2.5% to 3.5% to allow for civil servants, for people who are employed to be able to contribute to their own health care, not to contribute into government's budget funding, but to contribute to their own health care into the health fund in the Bank of Ghana.
Okay, so you're expecting that Thursday, or we should all expect that by Thursday, if government has accepted your proposal, we are supposed to pay 3.5% in terms of national health insurance levy. Is that what it is?
That is what we have put forward. But that alone will not solve the problem. So we'll put up other proposals of a health tax, where people who smoke, who drink, will have a bit of surcharge on the alcohol, on the tobacco, and on sugar. So that these people will be amenable to certain diseases. This money, again, will be put into the health fund, not into as part of budgetary support, but into the health fund. And this will be used to look after people when they fall sick. We've also spoken about employer-employee 1%, and in the informal sector, also about 8 cedis a month for this all to go into the health fund, so that we will be able to adequately look after the population.
But there's been talk about justification in terms of the monies that you're asking for, the budgetary support, and also we are also hearing about this health tax that you're talking about. What is the justification that NHIA can give us as the people who are going to be giving you this money, that what we are giving you be put into the right use, for which purposes it was given to you?
Thank you. It's been the most popular question going around the country. We are saying that let's play open books. Let's organize labor. Let civil society get representation onto the boards, onto the finance and investment committee, onto the audit committees. Let's make sure that every penny is accounted for. We have put in 3 measures or 3 foundational pillars to make sure that we use these funds efficiently. Once we strengthen the internal police force, we also look at the law which equates somebody stealing a cup of water or a banana to somebody who has planned and executed a scheme to defraud the national health insurance levy. We are saying that if you take money, if you defraud the national health insurance levy, you are killing people, because somebody's life might as well just depend on that money that you are stealing. So we're changing the law to make it compulsory imprisonment if you are convicted. Apart from paying 10 times what you stole, you have to go to jail in addition. Again, this is a standard in a lot of countries, which is something to act as a deterrent.
And that's the head of the NHIA speaking to us about their own proposals ahead of Thursday's budget review. A few of your messages coming through on our console.
And this one from Ajay Poku Collins, APC Kuwait. It says, the minority has no locus to question the government on the economy. We are facing all these challenges because of the financial mismanagement of the former government. Ghana is moving forward in the right direction. And this one also says 110 ministers, double with CEOs and their deputies whose roles are not defined, is one of the heavyweights in our economy today. NPP during 2016 campaign told us that they have the men. If you have the men, why this huge number on the public purse? President Nana Addo has to reduce his size of government. That's from Rashid in Boko, sending us that one. And this one from Wolanyo in Akwetia also sends this one. It says, what is the essence of the minority organizing a press conference, he says, for a budget which is yet to be read? Are they soothsayers that they know the content of the budget, or they are just predicting? I may tell them they are failing as minority in Parliament. Wolanyo sends that one.
Thank you very much for those comments here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. Remember, to a man that it's been ages since we last heard of. Who's this?
Chachu Chikata.
What else he's been saying?
So the former chief executive of the Ghana National Petroleum, you know that he's joining calls for a probe into allegations of vote buying leveled against the current board chair of the GMPC and the national chairman of the NPP.
Because he himself used to be the chief executive of the GMPC. Well, ahead of the NPP's National Delegates Conference, I'm pretty sure you recall the 275 buses that Freddie Blake procured and paid $3 million upfront to cover part of that bill. A total of $11 million it was deemed to cost. Now, there were questions raised about the source of funding, with the minority calling for a probe into the accounts of GMPC. Well, speaking to Gifto Andrew Appiah on the polls, Chachu Chikata, who used to be the chief executive of the GMPC, says a criminal probe will lay the matters to rest.
It doesn't help to do it at a time just before a primary or just before an election, because of the perceptions, and that's a reality also. I mean, obviously, if there are calls, including calls by some of the people who lost in the election, they are serious matters of criminality. So those matters, yes, would have to be investigated.
Okay.
And they would have to be investigated, you know, in terms of a normal criminal investigation. In other words, I mean, vote buying involves using monetary inducements in connection with a forthcoming election. So there was an election process in view. That's evidence. He procured these buses for constituencies and for people who would be involved in the voting process. That's also a fact. But you know, again, I don't want us to make this too legalistic an issue. It's not just about the legalism of whether Freddie Blay is guilty of the crime or he's not guilty of the crime. What I'm saying is that if I were Freddie Blay, I would also just sit back and just reflect, you know, what impression has been created through my actions, and could that have been avoided? And honestly, looking at it in that perspective, I'm sure that he, Freddie Blay, would probably recognize that he could have done it a bit differently.
So, Chachi Chikata there, but Evans, that's not the only issue he's been talking about. He's also been commenting on the removal of Charlotte Osei and her 2 deputies. Mr. Chikata says government needs to convince citizens that the promotion of the appeals court judges who sat on the CJ's committee to hear the same case on the Supreme Court was purely on merit.
The allegations that are being made about, you know, judges who were part of the committee that was set up suddenly being promoted and so on. I mean, they raise concern. They raise concern not because those judges are not competent or qualified or whatever, but even the appearance that might be given that they are being sort of rewarded for a job done and so on. Even that appearance does not enhance the credibility of the appointment process, unfortunately. And I mean, I would hope that there would be clear explanations that would be given that would, you know, satisfy Ghanaians that perhaps nothing untoward has happened in relation to that. But one of the things that struck me from an early stage in this process was that there were questions about the identity of who the petitioners really were. If it is indeed true, then the petition itself and the hearing of the petition itself is open to question.
Okay. You have the former CEO of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Chachi Chikata, there, speaking to Gifty and Apia.
You're still listening to Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Evans Mensah.
I am MFA Paul.
Well, the Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, is accusing some civil servants of falsifying their birth certificates to remain at post. According to him, they are workers on retirement still drawing salaries from the government payroll. The situation, he says, accounts partly for the unemployment situation in the country. The Auditor General, who met with the Audit Service and the team that is starting the special exercise tomorrow at Elmina, revealed that his findings at one organization showed how the unit had over 180 retired staff on the payroll. Correspondent Richard Kodonyako was there and reports.
A nationwide crackdown on payroll fraud is set to begin this week and is expected to force all civil servants to justify their employment status. This is part of government radical steps to remove ghost names from the country's payroll. The Auditor General's department is teaming up with a special prosecutor to enforce the measure, which starts in the central region from Tuesday. All civil servants in the region will have a 10-day window to produce evidence of their employment, and those who cannot do so subject to prosecution. Meeting staff of the Audit Service and other stakeholders that matter in the special exercise at Elmina in the central region, the Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, expressed concern about how the payment of government employees consumes almost half of the total revenue generated in the country.
People think donor support will develop Ghana. Nobody is coming to build your father's house for you. You have to build your own father's house because everybody has his father's house to build. If we take the 28 million Ghanaians, we are spending about half of our revenue on less than 1 million Ghanaians. What about the others? That's the point we are talking about. Because on the payroll is far less than 1 million. It's about 600 and something thousand. So if we are spending about half of the total revenue on less than 1 million, what about the remaining 27 million Ghanaians? No wonder they are wallowing in so much poverty. And let me say, this is a very serious exercise we want to conduct. It's not like the ones in the past. The ones in the past, they identify them as ghosts, they remove them, then they resurrect. Somebody even had the audacity to say it on radio that I've resurrected 3 times and say you will die the 4th time and we'll see. Because we are going to do a very meticulous exercise, a very professional. We're not targeting anybody. If you are a staff, you are a staff. Nobody can deny you your employment. But if your name is finally identified as a ghost, I'm going to activate my constitutional mandate and Article 187 to disallow your existence. And according to the Constitution, only a high court that can turn away that decision before you can come back on the payroll.
Daniel Domilovo says the practice where people who retire are given contracts must not be entertained. He is convinced when such persons are cleared from the payroll, graduates can be employed to reduce the unemployment situation in the country.
I've asked them as part of the exercise also, we shall come out to let Ghanaians know how many people are overage on the payroll. When the curtain falls, it's time to leave the stage. Ghanaians don't know that. They falsify birth certificates so to remain below 60 years. You meet some people who are still active workers and you wonder how many times they will be 60 years. Even if we should remove one person, as a result of which we can recruit one person, it is worth it. But believe me or not, there is one institution that we are going to study. That one institution alone has contract employees 182. Just one institution. It's a very small institution too. It's not a very big one. So as part of this exercise, we shall be identifying those who should not be on the payroll because the Constitution has a time limit where we must all go home. Is that not it? Some are 70. They are still around. Meanwhile, they want their children to be employed. And they don't want to go. People who are on contract and still on the government payroll, Honorable Minister, some of them earn more than twice your salary. Because most of them, some of them, not all of them do, some of them retired on their salaries. So their pension...
The Auditor General also hints of a special audit on procurement and contracts in the country to follow after this nationwide exercise. Richard Kwejenyakon, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Now, let's get on the phone lines and speak to the Deputy Auditor General, George Winful. Thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. So give us a sense of understanding of how widespread this situation is.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can you please say?
I'm asking how widespread the situation is because he made mention of one company, for instance, where 180 Red Star staff are still on the payroll. So I'm asking how widespread the situation is.
All right. Who am I speaking to, sorry?
My name is Emefa, sir.
Emefa, thank you very much, and let me say good evening to your cherished listeners. I'm not in a position to tell you how widespread the situation is for now. It is an exercise that will begin from tomorrow. And so these are some of the things that we'll be looking out for. We'll be carrying out exercise to find out whether or not some government employees are above the age of 60. Because in the government payroll, our government system, employees are supposed to retire when they attain the age of 60. And so if somebody falsifies his birth certificate or falsifies some documents in order to continue remaining in government employment, then those are some of the people we'll be looking out for.
So at the end of this exercise, what then will happen to such persons found culpable?
What will happen is it will go in line with the laws of this country. That if you are 60 years, then you are not supposed to be in employment. Otherwise, then it means that you have a very good contract with government, which allows you to continue working after the age of 60 years. So, however, if you falsify a document to remain on government payroll, that is criminal, and we will also investigate to find out why it is so. And if it is something that requires prosecution or whatever, we will take the necessary action to do so.
Also, we're grateful for your time. That's the Deputy Auditor General, George Wingfield, there, raising concerns about some contract staff are still at post there. Still to come here on Newsnight, though, later in the bulletin. You know that this famous claim where former head of state, Kutwe Champong, gave females some golf vehicles. I'm sure you remember that, Evans.
In exchange for sexual favors.
Allegedly. And that came up in Parliament today. And guess what? It drew some sharp criticisms from minority MPs.
I don't think there's any record that former head of state Achampong actually chased any lady. I'm completely appalled. In my opinion, as a woman, it is not acceptable.
And that's coming up later here on Newsnight. But now it's time for business with George Riafe.
Hello, George.
Hi.
A lot happening this week. I see how busy you've been. You look very stressed.
The media is coming and let's see what's going to happen. You know, we're about is it 2 days away or is it a day away from the presentation where he's going to review the estimate online, the 2000.
I don't recall the last time there was this much anticipation ahead of. This is not the main budget, remember. This is just a mid-year review. I don't remember the last time there was this much anticipation ahead of one.
I think for the last one, we all got the understanding that they're going to be taking away some nuisance taxes. But any budget statement that talks about possibly increasing taxes, everybody's, broken
alarm bells is going.
I read, looking at how it's going to affect you and I. Well, coming up in business, Bank of Ghana cancels takeover of ADB shares held by Starmont, Belster Capital, EDC, and SIC Financial. And also, minority in Parliament justifies claims that the total debt stock will cross the dreaded 70% mark by the end of this year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials and stationery. Heaven Plus insecticide mosquito spray and Call Pleasant on humans, a tough nightmare on insect. United Pension Trustees, my own pension, Pension Papa, and the Mag Autoparts.
Hey, what time? Feeling you good.
Hello.
Hello, Oba. Actually, I didn't feel you, baby.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Hey, Oba, the way they feel you, I don't understand. Hey, your nose, your eyes, your shoulders, your knees, your toes, everywhere, they like you. You are too much for me. But my mom, you know they like me. Why? She thinks I don't get money. Me, I get plenty money. I get cash. Make her tell you where I won't go. Paris, Jordan, Dubai, London, even back here. Brian, how far take you?
This is not Oba. This is a mother speaking.
Some things shouldn't be rushed. That's why there are so many ways to talk, text, and browse for long on Ghana's #1 network, MTN. Just dial 505 and choose from a wide range of offers to enjoy the most amazing mobile experience everywhere you go.
We give you nothing but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your #1 stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
You're still listening to this budget reading. Share, Massa, say budget no sisa. Now so what's sabi? Share, they say me my personal budget. No, I know we dia wo dwene pension ho. Hey, we dia 1 man 1 pension plan oh. Yes, Jaunia. Me what one more now. Sign up to my own pension plan with United Pension Trustees and gain access to higher interest, additional benefits such as savings account and flexible contributions. We dia pension papa. Secure your future by signing on to My Own Pension from United Pension Trustees. Go to your MTN Momo menu by dialing *170#. Select option 9 for pensions and insurance. Then option 1 for My Own Pension. Then you select option 1 to enroll and follow the prompts. Make daily, weekly, and monthly contributions to build your wealth with United Pension Trustees. For further inquiries, call our customer service center on 0242 436 880 or 0302 208 042. My Own Pension. Pension Papa.
That is a sweet sound of excellence. That is the sound from Mack. Yes, Mack Ghana is the #1 distributor of the world's best quality Isuzu and Chevrolet vehicles in Ghana. Isuzu trucks from 1.5 tons to heavy-duty vehicles. Isuzu buses from 15 to 33 seaters, double and single cabin pickup, available in automatic and manual transmissions. We also stock a wide range of Chevy cars from SUVs, sedans, and small cars, fully loaded with exquisite specifications. All our range of vehicles stand out due to its high fuel efficiency, safety, luxury, spacious interior, world-class delivery, and after-sales servicing. What's more, we offer flexible payment terms to meet your pockets. Mack Ghana is a sole distributor for Isuzu trucks and pickups, as well as all range of Chevrolet cars in Ghana. Call us on 0302-813-919 in Accra or 0242-039-550 in Kumasi. Visit our website mackghana.com. Mack Ghana, with you for the long run.
Oh, heaven, heaven.
Heaven, 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 heaven,
Heaven, black jumbo mosquito coil, smoothless coil, pa pa pa. If you move into my town for no smoke, no kata, ninkano suya embubu, embubu. They were having mosquito spray, ekumutuntum, ekumutefere, and was sweet lemon perfume. Who spray ya? Your red label can, yellow label can. To heaven, boy, was young by. To be coffee, couple was young by.
Oh, Tenti.
To be coffee, couple was young by.
Oh, Tenti. Heaven, 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 heaven. No mosquito, no cockroaches. Ebrukuzu, Ebrukuzu. Oh, Tenti.
Joy 99.7 FM.
You welcome back to Business on Newsnight. And the Bank of Ghana has cancelled the takeover of ADB shares held by investment firms Starmont, Belster Capital, Ecobank Development Corporation, and SIC Financial. According to a statement issued by the Bank of Ghana a while ago, the action was taken because the acquisition was done not according to laid down laws. Now, there's more in the following Business Desk report.
Now, he asked the question also that we want to find out the IMF project.
And we apologize for us and not able to bring you that actual sound. We'll move on to other stories where the minority in parliament has actually justified claims that the country's debt stock will cross the dreaded 70% mark by the end of this year. The minority's projection is still slightly higher than what government has projected, as well as the IMF for the country. So why is the minority getting this data from? That's the question we posed to the minority spokesperson on finance at Forson at a press briefing on the opposition on the upcoming mid-year review today.
Now, he asked the question also that we want to find out the IMF projected that the public debt is coming down. Yes, IMF projected that. It's projection based on certain assumptions. And the assumption is that you have already prepared a budget, thrown out a fiscal deficit. This fiscal deficit has to be financed. You either finance it through sale of asset or through debt. Now, you are saying that you are going to sell VRA asset, 1.7 billion. If that fails to happen, you will have to borrow to fund all those budgets. So that assumption, again, I have a worry about it. And so when we met the IMF, I raised the question that what if all this financing doesn't happen? What is the implication to debt? And then they confirmed to us that means debt is going to go up. And they agree with my position. Debt is going to go up by that amount. So based on those assumptions, financial sector one-off cost is going to go up by 4.5 billion.
And that's the minority spokesperson on finance at Force. And now we also understand that the highest advisory body on economic issues to Ghana, the economic management team, is set to have round up its meeting on the mid-year review. Now this will pave the way for the required recommendation to be made to cabinet for consideration in its emergency meeting tomorrow on the proposed tax measures that the finance minister is looking at before he comes to parliament on Thursday to present to them for consideration. Let's return to our earlier story where the Bank of Ghana has actually cancelled shares held in ADB by some of these investment firms, that is Belstar, EDC and Starmont. Let's hear the business desk report.
The Bank of Ghana in the statement maintained that it is taking this action under Section 55 of the Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act of 2016. This should mean that all the shares held by Belstar Capital, Starmount, SIC Financial and EDC are null and void. This prohibits these investors of any voting rights and even persons appointed by these investors acting as directors of ADB. The Bank of Ghana in a statement also noted that these investors who are unknown to the regulator entered into an agreement, SIC Financials and EDC, to buy ADB shares without the approval of the Bank of Ghana. It was also the view that it has come to the regulator's notice that these shares acquired by Belstar and Starmount were secured from Unibank, which was under liquidation using emergency funds secured from the Bank of Ghana in questionable circumstances. The two investors, Bank of Ghana Arts, has participated in questionable and unsafe transactions involving Unibank, which is detrimental to the entire financial systems. It says the actions of these investors make it unfit and improper to hold shares. They have also directed that all shares held by these investors must be immediately restored to the Financial Investor Trust, which holds shares for the regulator. Also, all directors appointed by Belstar, Starmount, SIC Financial Services and EDC to the board are to cease holding themselves out as directors.
And that was a business desk report. It's not clear for now whether these funds will be returned to these original shareholders or Unibank, and they are still developing issues that I'll be bringing you here on the Joy Business Report. And some oil marketing companies have indicated that they would rather be reducing prices at the pumps very soon. Now, this is despite an earlier projection that prices should be going up by almost 3% for petrol and 2% for diesel. Now, one of these oil marketing firms, Total, has been speaking to Joy Business Report. Its managing director, that is Eric Finashi, says although the variables point to an increase, they rather want to reduce it to serve the interests of their customers.
Alors, the price at the pumps, we are always watching it carefully, and we try our very best to offer the best deal for the customers, regardless of the customers, for all our customers basically. And we are trying also for people who are always on the road to give them some extra discounts, yes.
So should we be looking at any reductions anytime soon?
Well, hopefully, yes. I hope that the price will go in the right direction. Obviously, it's linked to the international market, so this is something that we are trying our very best on that side as well.
And how soon? Could you give any timelines as to when it would happen?
I hope as soon as possible.
And that's the managing director of Total Ghana. He was speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the Toxi Card, a package that offers commercial drivers discounted purchases. And that's all for the Joy Business Report on Newsnight. An interesting development on Bank of Ghana actually reversing those shares purchased by Belstar, Starmont, as well as EDC. And we're following this development. And what does it mean for the banking industry, the bank itself, and also the board of directors that were appointed by these investors? Emifa,
I'm sure we'll get more in our subsequent bulletins. Thank you very much, George Wiafe. Now, some of your messages quickly before we go on to some